Namaskar. Recently, I am in receipt of three very important works related to drama, theatre, dance, and performing arts in general. They have been authored by well known scholars and specialists in the field. The first one is by Mahesh Champaklal, titled The Dramaturgy of Bhasa, a comprehensive study. It is really a comprehensive study of the dramatic world of Bhasa. All his plays have been taken into account and they have been studied thoroughly from the point of view of dramatic structure, plot, Nayak Nayika Bhed, Rasa, Bhava, and all the aspects of drama and theatre as described in Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra. Mahesh Champaklal is well known for his contribution to the study of Indian theatre, classical theatre. Earlier, he has produced a number of volumes on the study of Sanskrit theatre, Indian theatre, and Bhasas theatre. He is also known as a as an eminent theatre director and has directed a number of plays, particularly Bhasa's plays. And some of his productions have been really a delight. The work in two volumes comprising more than 1400 pages. It's an enormous work and almost a lifelong work by a scholar who has made pioneer studies on Bhasa's works. The Dramaturgy of Bhasa in two volumes, as you see here. Mahesh Champaklal is Professor Emeritus and former head, Department of Dramatics, and also ex-dean Faculty of Performing Arts in the Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda. He was associated with professional Gujarati theatre in Mumbai from 1973 to 1981. He has actively contributed and participated in experimental theatre of Gujarat as writer, actor, and director from 1982 onwards. He has won several honors and awards for his extraordinary contribution in the field of translating some of the works from Gujarati. He has won Sahitya Akademi Award, Gujarat Sahitya Akademi Award, and his translation of Girish Karnad's The Fire and the Rain in Gujarati is worth mentioning. He has authored and published four volumes in Gujarati on Bharadwaj Natya Shastra and other four volumes in Gujarati on theatre criticism. These works have been acknowledged and appreciated and also awarded by Gujarat Sahitya Parishad and Gujarat Sahitya Academy. He has been working as fellow in IIAS, Indian Institute of Advanced Study. This is really a comprehensive study of Bhasa, covering all the aspects of Bhasa's theatre. Nandi, Bharatwakya, plot, construction, Itivratta, Ank Vidhan, Arthopakshepak, Avasthas, Artha Prakriti, Sandhi, Sandhyantar and Sandhyang, Pataka Sthanak, Natyokti, and the varieties of drama, Rupak Prakar, Nayak Nayika Bhed, Bhasa is one of the earliest playwrights in Sanskrit and one of the most eminent dramatists in world theatre. Second work is Nayana Savana, very appropriately titled Nayana Savana, a creative appreciation of the artistic works by Dr. Padma Subramanyam. Padma Bhushan Padma Subramanyam, one of the most eminent artists, one of the most renowned exponents of Bharatnatyam, and one of the most eminent scholars of Natya Shastra. The contributions of Padma Bhushan Padma Subramanyam are very well known in the field of performing arts, study of dance, theatre, and drama. And Shatavdhani R. Ganesh and Arjun Bharadwaj, who have jointly authored this work, have made an intensive study, in depth analysis, and a brilliant exposition of Padma Subramanyam's contribution to performing arts in general and Bharatnatyam in particular. Shatabdhani R. Ganesh is an ardent student of Indian dramatic tradition, Bharata's Natya Shastra, and he has been following Padma Subramanyam's journey in theatre and performing arts for the past several years. He has been associated with Padmaji and has studied her works, and Padma Subramanyam has been viewed by both these authors in this volume through the angle of a connoisseur, a Saradhaya. In the beginning, the works, the work gives an account of the teleserial Bharatiya Natya Shastra, which has been a good production for the students of Natya Shastra, for those who want to understand Natya Shastra. And both the authors have made an analysis of this teleserial from the point of view of its quality, its technique, and its value as an study in Natya Shastra. Then the authors have studied six full length productions by Padmaji. Her Ramaya Tubhyam Namah, then Krishnaya Tubhyam Namah, then her performance of Bhagavad Gita, then Jai Jai Shankara, and finally Paripadal, Mudal, Bharati, Varai, and Sangamam. These two productions. These are full length productions by Padmaji, and the authors have not only given a detailed account of these productions, they have analyzed them to highlight the achievements of Dr. Padma Subramanyam. Then, five short length presentations by Padmaji have been discussed: her Varnams, then compositions on divinities, then compositions based on Vedanta, compositions based on patriotism and social themes, and finally compositions set to non Indian music. This brings out the variety of the world of theatre of Padma Subramanyam, the vast horizon that she covers, incorporating various themes, not only mythological themes, but contemporary themes, not only Indian classical music she has been adopting for her performances, but has also been including non Indian music in her performances. So the very inclusivity of this great, renowned artist is quite impressive. In the appendix, the authors discuss various full-fledged productions and the anecdotes, insights, intuitions, and experiences of Padma Subramaniam. And they also give future prospects of the work that the enormous contribution that Padmaji has made to performing arts, further possibilities of research on her work and her contribution. We can understand from this account of the lifelong journey of Dr. Padma Subramaniam in the area of performing arts that she overrules the dichotomy between Shastra and Prayoga. And she is as great a Shastragya, as great an experimentalist, and as great a performing artist. The whole work is historical documentation of Padmaji's journey in performing arts. Tavdhani, R. Ganesh, and Arjun Bharadwaj particularly focus on the philosophy which percolates the performances of Padmaji and her vision as an artist and as a philosopher, as a Shastragya also. Padmaji is a philosopher of non dualism and she brings out the feeling of Advaita in her performances, the non duality. And she presents an integrated vision as well as a pan Indian outlook through her performances. So, the vast canvas that she incorporates in her performances, along with her vision and her philosophical perspective, they establish Padmaji as an artist extraordinary. The authors have also given a critique of the contributions of. One can confidently say that Dr. Padma Subramaniam is the Kalidasa of Indian dance. This is what Shatabdhani, R. Ganesh, and Arjun Bharadwaj claim, quote unquote. One can confidently say that Dr. Padma Subramaniam is the Kalidasa of Indian theatre, quote unquote. This is what Shatabdhani, R. Ganesh, and Arjun Bharadwaj say or make a claim about Dr. Padma Subramaniam. And to again present Shatabdhani, R. Ganesha's and Arjun Bharadwaja's view of Dr. Padma Subramaniam, I will read this brief para from the introduction of this work. If not for Dr. Padma Subramaniam, our lives would have been devoid of large amounts of joy. She has opened fresh doors and windows for understanding not just classical Indian dance, but also music, sculpture, painting, literature, and the value of Sanatana Dharma. We might never be able to repay the Ananda Rina we owe to her. Padma and her works are and will continue to maintain inseparable and invaluable parts of our lives. Her art is a chakshur yaga, a veritable visual yakya, a nayana savana, and this work is a humble offering to the Bharata Vibhuti, Dr. Padma Subramanyam. There is a beautiful prashasti in Sanskrit on Padma Subramanyam composed by Shatabdhani R. Ganesh. And I would like to read one Anushtupa, Anushtup verse from the citation. Padma nrityam avigyaya kuto natya kriyadara. Padma nrityam tu vigyaya kuto natya kriyadara. Without having relished Padma's dance, how can we develop interest in the art of dancing? Once having relished her dance, would there be the need to watch anything more? With their in-depth knowledge of Indian music system, the authors have analyzed the ragas adopted by Dr. Padma Subrahmanyam in her performances, and we see that she includes Karnataka system of Indian music as well as North Indian system also. Rare ragas she has been including in her performances, like Raga Revati in her production of Ramaya Tubhyam Namah. And the authors also make an analysis of the performances by Dr. Padma Subramaniam from the point of view of Padarthabhinaya and Vakyarthabhinaya, how she interprets each and every word, Pada, in her performances, and then how she does Rasabhinaya through Vakyarthabhinaya. So, this kind of critique on the dance performances, we seldom find very good dance criticism is lacking in our literature. So this book will also serve as a model for dance criticism, for practical criticism of dance performances, and it will give an idea and a glimpse of terminologies to be adopted for critiquing the dance performances. To present a dance performance on Srimad Bhagavad Gita is indeed a challenging task which Padmaji has taken up. And the authors, both of them being scholars, and particularly Shatabdhani R. Ganesh, well known for his mastery of Sanskrit classics and Shastric works, they have made a good study of the Bhagavad Gita performed by Dr. Padma Subramaniam as a visual commentary on the grandest treatise of humanity. To render the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita in the dance form, to present the philosophy and the noble thoughts of Lord Krishna in the dance form is indeed something very unique. Earlier, I have spoken about the paintings of Allah Baksh, how Allah Baksh presents the philosophy of Srimad Bhagavad Gita through 700, almost 700 paintings, miniature paintings, unique treasure of Indian miniature paintings, which Professor Alok Palla and Chand Prakash Deval have brought out to render a philosophical work in other genre on stage or through the medium of theater is not only a challenging task, but it requires a particular talent and understanding of the philosophy and vision of both the work being taken up and the philosophy of the performer as well. The work also includes some very good photographs of Padmaji in her performance, and they give an idea of the talent of Padmaji. In the section on Varnams, the analysis of Padma Subramanyam's choreography of the Kannada composition of the saint poet Purandar Das, Hidako Vidapyadi, how it is so rich in interpretations and suggestions. This work provides a very interesting study of a great artist, the study done with love and devotion. This was Nayana Savana. Savana means yagya, and the Vedic text describe three savanas: Pratha Savan, Madhyandin Savan, and Tritiya Savan, which Kalidasa terms as Sayantana Savana in a different context. So this Savana is not only a Chakshush yagya here, it is Asechana also. It is a delight to eyes what Padmaji has done. The dramaturgy of Bhasa, a comparative study, a comprehensive study, is alternately titled Bhas Natya Manjari, and it has been published by New Bharati Book Corporation, New Delhi, this year. This work, Nayana Savana, a study of the performances by Padma Subramanyam, has been published by Preksha Pratisthana, Bangalore, in July 2023. The by third work is also by Shatavdhani R. Ganesh, and it has been translated from Kannada into English by Arjun Bharadwaj. It is not a verbal translation, it is an adaptation. Shatavdhani R. Ganesh has been contributing to the study of Natya Shastra and Sanskrit drama and theatre for past several decades, and several of his essays have been published in Kannada, and in Kannada language he has produced some good volumes devoted to the study of Natya Shastra and Indian theatre. This work includes some of his essays on Natya Shastra and Indian theatre. Also, a voluminous work in more than 500 pages, and also includes some good photographs of Karnas and other positions of Angik Abhinaya, as described in the Natya Shastra tradition, which are sculptured in, in the temples of South India. The work is titled Prekshaniyam, Essays on Indian Classical Dance and Theatre, and this also has been published by Preksha Pratishthan, Bangalore. The first edition of this work was brought out in 2020, and the revised enlarged edition has been brought out in 2022, which is in my hands. The essays included in this volume cover a vast range of topics related to Natya Shastra. Shatavdhani R. Ganesh makes very positive suggestions in the first essay entitled The Need of a Shastric Framework for Classical Dance and Theatre. And he is a person who overrules the dichotomy between Shastra and Prayoga, and who sees the Shastra integrated in Prayoga, and Prayoga looking towards Shastra and Shastra looking towards Prayoga. So the integration of Shastra in Prayoga and Prayoga being considered by Shastra, they are interrelated and they are complementary to each other. And therefore, the modern dancers should understand that they also need to understand Shastra and they need the Shastra for a holistic approach to their performances. Then there's an essay which discusses the interrelationship of battlefield wars and military, the art of military training to, to theater. I have also discussed this issue how theater got related to the Malla Vidya, the combats and duels, and even to the battlefield, particularly in Mahabharata, where the Mallas and Natas, where the warriors and Natas, they are standing on the same ground. There is a same arena where both of them are performing. So both of them are coming close to each other. So the warriors, the archers, they adopting the postures described in the Natya Shastra, the charis, mandalas, and the natas, learning from the warriors. So several motifs Natya Shastra derives from military science. So this a very interesting study. This is a very interesting study from this point of view. Then in the third essay, Shatavdhani R. Ganesh discusses the interrelationship between Natya, Nritya, and Nratta. This is also a oft discussed issue, and he also discusses the value of Natya and Nritya. Then some of the essays discuss Nayak Nayika Bheda and Rasabhinaya. And Shatavdhani here stands as an advocate for adopting the systems of Natya Shastra and to create an identity of Indian theatre through Natya Shastra. He stands in defense of classical Indian theatre. Then, in one of the essays, he discusses aesthetics and interconnectedness of the Shrupakas and Uprupakas, which are, in English, they are called minor forms of drama, and Nratta Prabandhas, dance dramas. So this is also a very interesting area of study in the Natya Shastra tradition. There are 6 essays devoted to in-depth study of Yakshagana. Yakshagana as a traditional Deshi theatre and the adaptation of Angik Abhinaya in Yakshagana and the possibilities of innovations and reformations in the form of Yakshagana. So these essays present studies on Yakshagana from diverse angles. Then in other essays of this work, Nritya Natakas are discussed and classical dance and Yakshagana, their aesthetics have been discussed and importance of Bharata from the point of view of box office. This also has been discussed in one of the essays. Finally, there is an essay on research in dance, possibilities and challenges, and The last essay makes an study of Dr. Padma Subramaniam's contributions to Indian values and national integration in the context of Dravidian movement. Shatabdani R. Ganesha's close association with theatre persons or performing artists is reflected in his writings, and his scholarship also percolates everywhere. He discusses the idea of the freedom of the artist, his creativity, and the question whether the framework of Shastra, the dicta, or the rules and regulations of the Shastra would stagnate the development of an art form. And he rightly suggests that Bharat Muni or other Shastrakaras, they consider the choice, the options, and the freedom of an artist. And therefore, they give multiple sets of vikalpas, choices. And Bharat Muni particularly says that whatever you cannot understand from Shastra, go to Loka to understand it. And there are some very positive suggestions in the Natya Shastra. Breaking the rigid framework, the Shastra itself tends to break the rigid Shastric framework by providing the scope for the imagination of the creative artist or a theatre person. This we can illustrate from several passages in Bharata's Natya Shastra, and Shatabdhani R. Ganesh not only emphasizes over the need for a Shastric framework, and he gives the idea of a Shastra which helps the growth of the performing art. From this point of view, he has rightly cited a verse from Sarvalakshana Sangraha, which says that Shastra guides us for our well-being, and which explains the meaning of Shastra in the following way: Pravartishcha nivratishcha unsam yenopadishyate tad dharmashchopadishyante shastram shastra vido vidu. Shastra describes the pravritti and nivratti of the people. It educates people about the means of practicing pravritti and achieving nivratti. Actually, Shastra, as defined in our tradition etymologically also, Shashanat Shastram and Shanshanat Shastram, not only Shashanat, not only through regulating, but also through documenting. The documenting by through documenting various practices, various alternate sets of practices, as Bharat Muni does in Natya Shastra, that the actors can do this way also. Otherwise, also they can approach the practices. So, this Sarvalakshan Sangraha, which has been cited by Shatavdhani, is a work by Gauri Shankar Bhikshu, and it speaks of Shatavdhani's erudition, how he cites pertinent passages from such Shastras. that Bharat Muni gives a very comprehensive idea of theatre or natya is evident through his treatment of Ekadash Natya Sangraha. Rasa Bhavaya Vinaya Dharmi Vritti Pravrittaya Siddhi Swaras Tatha Totyam Ganam Rangashya Sangraha. 10th Karika of the 6th Adhyaya. And this gamut of the fundamental elements of theatre or natya, Rasa Bhava Vinaya Dharmi Vritti Pravritti Siddhi Swara Todya Gan and Rang. This gives an idea of a complete theatre, the holistic idea of theatre, which has been discussed by Shatavdhani R. Ganesh in the very first essay here. He also makes some pertinent suggestions for breaking up the barriers, for doing away with the age long practices, for broadening the vistas of the world of performance. He suggests that besides Strangara, Raudra, and Bhakti, the performing artists or dancers should also adopt Vatsalya, Hasya, and Dhira. Dhir is the rasa which has been envisaged by Shatavdhani himself, and earlier he has produced a volume in Sanskrit, Vagartha Vismaya Swada. In one of the essays in Vagartha Vismaya Swada, he has proposed this Dhira rasa and its characteristics and its whole Vibhav, Anubhav, Sanchari Bhava gamut. This volume can be studied by those who want to understand various concepts, precepts of Bharata's Natya Shastra and how these precepts and dicta of Natya Shastra are reflected in our performative traditions, in our traditions of classical theatre and dance, particularly the concepts of Natya Dharmi, Lok Dharmi, Vrattis and Pravrittis. So these are the core concepts in Natya Shastra which have been very well discussed by Shatavdhani in the essays that are incorporated in this volume. In the essay on Natya Nritya and Nratta, some thoughts, Shatavdhani discusses the misunderstanding that has been created by the nomenclature Bharatanatyam. And he rightly says that it was very good for the survival of the Sadir Nritya or Dasiyattam, which has been resurrected by E. Krishna Iyer and Srimati Rukmini Arundel. And they have made a unique contribution by the way of rediscovering this genre. But renaming that genre as Bharatanatyam sometimes creates the misconception that Bharata's Natya Shastra is about the dance form Bharatanatyam. I have experienced, I don't have very good experience when I am treated as an exponent of Bharatanatyam. So it must be remembered. I have studied Natya Shastra, but I have nothing to do with Bharatanatyam as such. I am not an exponent of Bharatanatyam. Natya Shastra is such a voluminous encyclopedic work. Only one of its chapters, which helps the exponents of Bharatanatyam, is related directly to dansa. Otherwise, it speaks of dansa, of course, as integrated in theatre, and it discusses the interrelationship of dance and theatre also. But it is not a work on Bharatanatyam or or on a dance floor. So this must be remembered. And there are persons, common men, you may say, or laymen, who may have this misunderstanding. So this misunderstanding or misconception should be removed. Shatabdani R. Ganesh emerges as a Shastrakara in the essay titled The World of Rasas, the World of Rasas, its Nayakas and Nayikas. And he discusses the eightfold division of Nayikas. And he also suggests that this eightfold division of Nayikas can equally be applied to the Nayaka. So, eight types of Nayakas we can conceive on the basis of this Swadhin Patika, Vasak Sajja, Khandita, Vipralabdha, etc. One more point can be added here, that Bharata's classification of four Nayakas, Dhirodat, Dhir Lalit, Dhirodhat, and Dhir Shanta. Bharat Muni very explicitly says in the 22nd chapter that it can be applied to the female also. It can be applied to the heroines, to the Naikas also. So the Naikas, the queens, they can also be Dhirodatta, Dhir Lalita, Dhir Shanta, and Dhirodhata. So Bharata doesn't have this uh, difference of gender. From the point of view of gender sensitization, we see that in Natya Shastra, women have not been excluded from this fourfold division of Nayakas, and in the same way, Nayakas can also be conceived from the point of view of uh, various states of uh, love affairs, interrelationships, marital relationships, extramarital relationships. Sometimes we find that because all the Shastrakaras are men, so there is a bias, and only man's perspective emerges, particularly in the classification of Naikas. Women, as viewed by the men, had some lady scholar written a Shastra on Nayak Bheda, she would have done a different classification and she would have revised several categories as well. So, this also should be considered. The nomenclature suggested by or devised by R. Ganesh for these eight Nayakas as counterparts of the eight Nayikas, they are also very well devised. Kanta Videya, Bhamini Bhit, Abhisaraka, Nirikshaka, Virahi, Kalahantarita. Kalahantarita is pulling of Kalahantarita, and Narma Prasadaka and Pantha. A very pertinent classification, of course. Like if Proshit Bhartrika is there, why not accept the Pantha, the Virhi, who is out of his home? There is a need to create a kind of criticism, a framework for criticism for the male dancers, for the Bharatanatyam exponents, male exponents, because mostly the form is dominated by ladies, but because men are also appearing as exponents of this dance form, and the perspective would change if the performer is a man, and therefore there is a need to bring up another framework of critiquing a male performer. I have met some of the male performers and they face this difficulty. They cannot do Naika Bheda. So they need some other classification some new categories, and then there should be a new framework for critiquing them. So in this way, the Shastra and Prayoga, they go hand in hand together and they prosper through their association. So if there are male dancers, new concepts should also be introduced in the Shastra. Some of these essays, from this point of view, can serve as good manuals for the dancers. In one of the essays, Shatavdhani R. Ganesh refutes the suggestion that India lacked professional theatre, and being an authentic scholar of Natya Shastra tradition, he gives illustrations that the whole tradition has cared for the professionals, cared for the interest of the professionals, and there has been a professional theatre. Not only Natya Shastra, even Arthashastra, Vatsyayana's Kama Sutra, they speak of the repertoires, theatre groups that are visiting, touring throughout the country, and how the fees would be paid to them, how the king or the citizens should arrange for their performances. Preksha, the word preksha is used for a show. So how the preksha should be arranged for a touring theatre group. So all these references suggest that we had a professional theatre and a rich tradition of its performances. In the essay on the Shrupakas, Uparupakas, and Nratya traditions, Shatavdhani gives details of several regional theatre forms, or Deshi Nritya Prabandhas, Deshi Natyas, and this provides a very interesting study of the later developments in regional forms of theatre and what we call as Lokanatyas, developing in the Shastric tradition of Uparupaka. There is a reference to Jakkadi or Jakkini, and Shatavdhani gives references from Ghanshyama's Sangeeta Sar Sangrah to describe what Jakkani is. It is the dance form practiced by the Persian people, and the songs in Persian language were included in this form. But there are other works also which describe Jakkani or Jakkadi form of theatre or dance form. Besides Vyambhupala Sangeeta Chintamani and Sangeeta Sar Sangrah of Ghanshyama, there is a Natya Manorama by Raghunatha, a work from Odisha, which also describes this form in detail. On the whole, this work will go a long way for suscitating, nourishing classical Indian theatre and traditional regional theatres. Thank you very much.